So now we're going to use our produce our pseudocode, and it actually asks to then write the C# code. Now notice here that usually when we see if statements inside of if statements, they'll actually look something like this. Is we do indentations to show ownership. And so here's our first month, and else, if it's not our first month, then we go to an if statement that's in the false part of the preceding if. But what would happen is if we had a lot of choices here, they would indent right off the page. So it is very common with nested if statements to reformat them to a more appealing and less congested and honestly easier to read format, which looks like this. And then notice the last one, there is no if as we determined from our flowchart. Now this, of course, assumes we added that other if statement. So notice what I did here is an if statement with only a true part, and this shows me a couple of things. One is I can clearly see that all of the input area kind of goes together. So I'm going to say get input, and then here I'm going to have do processing. So this if statement I consider to be part of the input because it's processing my input. It's not letting me go on to the processing area until I'm sure that my input's correct. I've also noticed a potential mistake here in my flowchart. Did I say less than 1 or less than 0? So I go back and look, and in fact I said less than 0, which is wrong because this would allow a 0, which is incorrect. One of the neat things about embedding Visio into our Word document is I can just double click on the diagram. I don't have to go back to Visio. So now I have fixed it. And there we go. We fixed it in our Word. And there's our pseudocode. Now all we have to do is write the program. So here I've started a project and I'm ready to enter in basically everything we saw in our pseudocode. So I know I want to declare as an integer our month number, and in Visio in Visual Studio C# we really would like to start all of our variables with a value, and typically it's 0. This is because when we set our values and we set them in if statements, sometimes an if statement may never be true, and so the computer gets worried that there is no starting value, and it will give us an error message and not allow it to compile. So part of fixing that is just to make sure it has a number so that the compiler rests easy. And we can do the same thing with a string. We just give it a value of nothing. Now this particular if statement will check to see if the number is less than 1 or the number is greater than 12. If it is, that's an error. We print out a message, we wait for them to hit a key, and then we execute an exit message, which will cause the program to exit back to Visual Studio. So now I'm ready to start my processing. And of course you should be commenting heavily. I, as the teacher, don't have to. And remember, we use the double equal sign to stand for a comparison of equality. That is because the single equal sign is used as an assignment statement in C#. There we go, it seems to be working. Give it a try.